class. Once again, you are welcome to today's geography class. In the last class, we have looked at meaning and types of mountains. Meaning and types of mountains. I told you a mountain is any highlands 600 meters and above. And we looked at the 4 major types of mountains. I told you we have block mountains, we have fold mountains, we have volcanic mountain, residual mountains. So the 4 we mentioned. But for today, we are taking a step ahead to revise map reading as well as rocks. Don't forget, it's a revision class. Map reading and rocks. By the end of the class, you should be able to, number 1, interpret a given map. When you are given a map, you should be able to interpret. We have been doing that, but I've discovered that some of you have not actually gotten it very well. So we are going to go through it again today, how to interpret map. Now, number 2, you should be able to highlight the types of rocks. And then, finally, you should be able to critically examine the ways in which igneous rocks differ from sedimentary rocks. So these are the things we are going to look at today. Let's go straight to look at the first objective here. We are going to look at how to interpret a map. How to interpret a map. The first and most important thing you should know is the scale of a given map. Don't forget, a scale of a map is what shows the relationship between distance measured on the map and the distance on the ground. That is a scale of a map. Relationship between the distance on the map and the distance on the ground. For example, look at this scale. 1:100,000 means 1 centimeter on the map represents 1 kilometer on the ground. That's the scale. So please take note of that. This is how to interpret a scale. 1:100,000 means 1 centimeter on the map represents 1 kilometer on the ground. And 1:50,000 represents 1 centimeter on the map represents half kilometer. Since 1 kilometer is 100,000, 50,000 is half of 100. So that is it. So that is how to interpret the scale of a map. Take note of that. And number 2, we look at scale of a reduced map or an enlarged map. When a map is reduced, the scale becomes bigger. When a map is enlarged, the scale becomes smaller by the number of times you are enlarging or reducing. For example, a map of 1:50,000, when you are asked to reduce it by half or twice, reduce it twice, that will mean that the new scale will be 1:100,000, that is 50,000 times 2. Then, when you are to enlarge that same map, the scale will become 1:25,000 because, don't forget, when you enlarge a map, the scale becomes smaller. So take note of that. That is how to determine the scale of a reduced map or an enlarged map. Let's look further. Let's look at occupation of a map. Oftentimes you are asked to state the occupation of a particular area. I told you in the last class, you look at the features surrounding that area. For example, before you say an area, the occupation there is mining, meaning that the symbols of mineral working, which are always shown on the scale, are found in that area. When you see a digger and a shovel crossed together, that is to say the activities of people in that area is mining. Sugarcane and swamp rice cultivation, areas liable to flood, areas liable to flooding. You can see that those areas, their major occupation is usually swamp rice cultivation or sugarcane farming. Take note of that. Then we'll talk about map features. This is where we see how some of you struggling with the features in the map. You know, a ridge, for example, I told you, when you see elongated contour lines, that's a ridge. And that point in the middle is either it's called a curl or a pass. I will just show you very soon briefly. Then a valley and a spur. When the contour line, whether arranged in U shape or in a down shape or the up shape, I'll show you very soon. When the inner figure is low, that is a valley. But when the inner figure is high, that is a spur. As simple as that. They may look the same. Spur and valley, they are the same. They look alike when you look at them. But look at the figure. Once the inner figure is high, that is a spur. But when it's low, it's a valley because the center point for a valley is low, while the center point for a spur is high. That is why the inner figure is high for a spur. Now, let's look at that quickly. Let me just quickly show you so that you don't miss it anymore. Let's look at this. When you see a picture like this, actually this is a ridge. Look at contour line, very long. I see something like this, something like this, something like this. This is a ridge. Now, the points here, this point here, this is a curl. You can call it a gap. This is a curl or a gap. But let us assume there is a footpath or a road there. This place is better called a pass. because there is a passage there. It's called a pass. But generally, this is a call. But when there is a road here, it's better called a pass. That's the two major difference. Please take note. If there's no road or there's no any passage there, it is called a pass or a gap. All right. Take note of that. And this, I showed you, this is a valley. A valley. The inner control line, 100, 200, 300. This is a valley. But the opposite is the case for a spur. When you see like this, you have 300 from inside, 200, 100. This is a spur. Why this is a valley? Please take note of that. All right. Let's move to the next one. Rocks. Told you what are rocks. We have three major types of rock. Igneous rock, which are the original rocks. The rocks that are formed from the cooling and solidification of molten magma that are ejected from beneath the earth crust. So these are igneous rocks. While sedimentary rock, they are rock of accumulation. We call them rock of accumulation because they are the rock formed from the sediments of other rocks that have been carried away, accumulated and cemented together. We call them sedimentary rock. And the last one is the metamorphic rock, which are called change rock because they are formed from igneous and sedimentary rock that have been changed due to heat and pressure. So these are the three types of rocks. Finally, we look at the characteristics, which I want you to take note. Characteristic of igneous rock. We said igneous rock are crystalline in nature, meaning they contain crystals. And also, igneous rock, they are hard and impervious. No, they are original rock. They are very hard and impervious. Water can hardly pass through. They are non-stratified rock. There are there are no layers. They are not stratified. Now, they are also non-fossil. They don't contain fossil. Fossil, we are talking of dead plants and animals. They don't contain them. And while the sedimentary rock, the opposite of igneous rock, in fact, is the sedimentary rock. You can see sedimentary rock, they are non-crystalline. Why this one are crystalline? They are sedimentary rocks. They are soft and permeable. This one, they are hard. Just the direct opposite. Then they are stratified. This one are not stratified. And lastly, we talk of they are fossilized, meaning they contain fossils. So these are the characteristics of igneous and sedimentary rock. Don't forget, we have looked at how to interpret a map. I told you, and then how to the different types of rocks. Remember to turn in your tab before the end of today. Thank you.